Hi, so we've just done I think it's the fourth now, live Retribution Paladin Q&A on Twitch on September the 24th. If you're looking at this a little time later, it's pretty much the same day as I'm uploading this, hopefully. For those who weren't able to watch it, I've put it here as well on YouTube for you to be able to have a look at it. If there's any further questions, of course, put them in the comments below or send them to me directly. There will be another one in a few weeks' time. I'll probably sort of do these every few weeks. So it'll probably be a Saturday again at 7 p.m. In the evening UK time. Keep an eye on me on Twitter if you want to be sort of reminded of when these things are. I also usually announce it in my weekly WoW Flash series now, usually at the beginning when it's very imminent, or maybe at the end when it's just coming up. I hope you enjoy it. Right, hi. Okay, so should be streaming live. I'll just wait, obviously, a little bit of a delay while people can say hello, just to check that it is all working as usual. Got the headphones on today because the last time I did this, I'd left my Twitch sort of open in Chrome, and of course we were getting a bit of an echo as a result of that. Now, I have turned it down, not that turned it off, sorry, but I'm just going to keep the headphones on just in case anything else goes wrong so that I can become aware of it. Oh, hello, so we are working. Excellent, good. Right, so for the first thing, I had a little look half an hour ago, and immediately there was a comment. Buffs. We're getting buffs. Sort of. Where are those buffs? There they are. So this is what is befalling us. I'm not like 100% sure when. I sort of like Tuesday is thrown out there, but that's because that is the reset day for the US. So whether it is just being rolled out completely on Tuesday, or whether it's only going to be for North American servers and then European servers get it on Wednesday. You know, maybe it comes with the reset. I assume that's the case. But it doesn't necessarily have to be, because they can hotfix these things. And they're talking about hotfixes as opposed to a patch. So maybe it'll all just go out on Tuesday and we'll all get it at the same time. In terms of any particular... I'm just going to take this off just now. It sounds fine. Put those down for now. Don't like them. In terms of how it might affect things, one noticeable feature is that Divine Hammer is not in there, but of course Blade of Wrath and Blade of Wrath is, but Blade of Justice overall. So I think what that means is that everything is being buffed, because it says Blade of Justice damage increased. It says Blade of Wrath differently. So we're sort of saying, well, we know Virtue's Blade will be buffed by 13%. We know Blade of Wrath will be buffed by 13%. I don't know if it means that for Divine Hammer, because Divine Hammer is another form of Blade of Justice, but different enough. So if not, it might mean that... I use that in dungeons, of course, as well as any fight where there might be a significant amount of cleave, because you don't lose a massive amount on single target. You do lose, but you don't lose loads. Now, the amount you'll lose will be more significant, if that's the case. So I'm still not 100% sure what they mean by this. I think they mean that Divine Hammer will not be buffed. So it will be more of a loss on a single target, say on a boss. Now, for example, when I was doing the mythic, we're doing the timed mythic dungeons now. Did Neltharion's Lair a couple of times, and on both occasions, although the second time it happened, that was just all sorts of things going wrong. But the first time, on the second boss in Neltharion's Lair, the one that turns into a rock, so obviously there's phases in that, and when you get to a position where he goes into that phase, turns into a rock, you do the cups and balls, find him, and then if you get him down to really low health, and then he does it again on like a few percent health, that's really annoying, because that's a whole nother one of those sort of phase twos you've got to go through, and that's costing you time. It can easily cost you an extra minute, and certainly half a minute. And in a situation like that, you do feel bad going for mostly cleave, because it is helping overall, because it's helping on the trash. But when it comes to a boss, you're not as effective as you could be. So, yeah, I'm not sure about that one. But in general terms, all I can see from this in terms of anything that would change any decisions is that Divine Storm is getting buffed more than Templar's Verdict, which means that you might not necessarily need Divine Tempest for Divine Storm to be a DPS increase on 2 targets. Like, for example, when I had, at a certain point while I was getting geared up ready for raids, I had 2 relics that both buffed. I forget the name of the trait now, but the one that buffs your Divine Storm. So I had the 3 points in it because I'd gone the short route. It was before I'd reset, plus 2 extra traits from raid, so I had 5. At that point, Divine Storm was a DPS increase on 2 targets, and that was, of course, without Divine Tempest. So it could do it earlier as well. It might be that before you've got Divine Tempest with this change, maybe it'll be a DPS increase on 2 targets or not. I don't know. I haven't calculated them. But in general terms, I just see them as buffs. I don't see them as changing what you would do or changing the talents you would take. I just see them as straight up buffs to our damage without buffing everything. Which means, of course, the biggest thing in here is Execution Sentence. Execution Sentence, once you've at least got Echo of the High Lord, was already going to be a useless talent. So what they needed to do was to do something with Execution Sentence. Whether they just straight up buff its damage, but maybe they think to themselves, well, if we do that, we make Retribution too powerful, or to somehow add it into the Echo of the High Lord trait, or change some of the traits so that it get buffed. Because remember, without any of the traits on Ashbringer, Execution Sentence is a single target DPS increase. It's only the traits that are buffing Templar's Verdict that stop it being so. So if they changed something so that it was just buffing Execution Sentence at the same rate as Templar's Verdict, it would be fine. But they're not. And now, of course, with buffing Templar's Verdict as well as all the traits that aren't changing, Execution Sentence, I mean, it was a dead talent before. It continues to be a dead talent, even more so, if it's actually possible. It's not actually possible, I suppose, to be less than worthless. Do you think they'll buff the effect of Mastery? Well, a Templar's Verdict increase, by definition, buffs that, because it benefits from Mastery as long as you've got Judgment on that target. Divine Storm, less so, because, of course, it depends how many mobs you got and how many mobs you are spreading your Judgment to. I don't really use Dream. I actually tried Greater Judgment in an Eltharian's Lair that on the speedrun last night because other people are using it. I've always used Zeal. Didn't like it. Got mad to Zeal. So I don't really use Greater Judgment. I'm not saying there aren't situations where it'd be useful. But on balance, I prefer Zeal in those sort of situations. But for Templar's Verdict, for single target, it buffs Mastery a little bit. It can't not. That being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that Mastery jumps ahead of anything, because the fact that they're buffing other things as well, like Crit and Versatility, also work with Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm, regardless of where your Judgment is, and they also work on Blade of Justice, which is buffed, and Crusader Strike, which is buffed. So it may not change the relative positions of these things. And you've got to remember, sometimes Mastery actually jumps up in value anyway. If you leave Mastery left in the dust, I mean, I still have a reasonable amount of Mastery. 7.1 changes go live. Well, no, Crusade. I mean, you have to obviously wait for Sims to really see what's going on. But it surely... because you'll be using Judgment, you'll just be using Judgment on cooldown, which means... For single target, I don't know. I would like to see Sims on it first before I say anything. But for AoE, because you can take Greater Judgment as well, and even if you don't take Greater Judgment, hiya, oh, hello, Rebdol. Then, if you take Greater Judgment, then you're spamming the hell out of that. And if you're having to switch targets all the time, I hate switching, like the situation where you have to switch targets. You've just used Judgment on something, and now you haven't got it available. So you're like, oh, bloody hell. Well, it's going to have like just over a 2-second cooldown. You're going to spam the hell out of it. So no, I think Crusade will still be strong in 7.1 if they keep it like this. I just don't like it. I'm not a huge fan of the current version of Crusade, I have to say, because I've mentioned this before. When at the start of a fight, and especially when heroism is going, but even without heroism, it gets very, very rapid. But with heroism as well, it's like I'm going back in time. You know, I'm abilities are coming off cooldown before I've even used them, is how it seems to me. That's ridiculous. Hiya. No, it wasn't before. It sort of was a thing quite a while ago. A thought that using Justicar's Vengeance to quickly build up stacks on Crusade was a thing. It hasn't been already, so it doesn't need these buffs for that not to be the case. You just do your normal stuff. Justicar's Vengeance in a raid situation is not a DPS ability. Unless for some reason the boss gets stunned, or I suppose on odds. No, I haven't actually tried. I haven't been on the PTR yet. I haven't had time to go and try them out. But I am less than keen. The Blade of... They both might end up looking like, mathematically, that they'd be okay. But this is a problem Mage has had in the last couple of expansions. I used to talk to a Mage. Unfortunately, he was a gnome. I tried many times to talk him out of it. I almost got him to change to Worgen, but it didn't happen. But as he used to say, is the problem is that in their particular case, Blizzard seemed to be listening to this person who was very supportive of a lot of some of the Mage abilities because maths made them strong. But in actual fact, doesn't mean to say they were fun. And it's the same thing here. It might well be that math says that the new Crusade and the new Blade of Wrath are good, but does it mean they're fun? Not necessarily. I don't even take Justicar's. I haven't used Justicar's Vengeance for quite a while. I sometimes take solo talents if I know I'm not going to queue up for a dungeon, but I haven't really used it. I've mostly used it in the beta, and I've stopped because I just take Divine Hammer now. Not Divine Hammer, what we're talking about, Word of Glory for dungeons, because that has actually saved our asses a few times. It saved my ass a little bit in a raid earlier on, but it hasn't actually come in as much useful in raids. But then I sort of thought it wouldn't anyway. I sort of said before Legion went live, I like it for dungeons. I think it's a good dungeon talent. I'm not so happy with it in raids. But at the same time, it could come in useful. So you sort of, well, I feel I sort of have to take it. Oh dear. I tried to set it up as much as I can that it's has as little delay as possible. Because delay is a bit of an arsehole when you're trying to communicate with people live. Now, I don't know if that necessarily affects performance on some people's machines or connections. Well, the thing is with Word of Glory, sometimes it helps you when you can avoid only you and the tank being up, because you do sort of crowd around things. It really does come in useful. Eye for an eye, yeah, I haven't used that yet. I'm not a fan of it. I can well imagine it being quite good on Ursoc, though. I haven't done that in Heroic yet on my Paladin. That may well be for tomorrow. We've done, for reasons, we did the 2 normal runs on Wednesday. Then we did Heroics on Thursday, and we did 5 bosses on the split one with my Demon Hunter, and then just 1 with my Paladin. So we still have like 2 more to do on my Demon Hunter, and 6 more on my Paladin. So I don't know which ones we're doing, but on Sunday I'm certainly going to be doing something on my Paladin, I would think. And yes, I'm quite likely to use that on Ursoc, even though I don't really like the talent. Apparently not. I don't know. Sorry, I need to say what question I'm talking about. Yeah, still better using the HFC tier even with the nerf. Apparently not. I haven't been using it at all. I sort of kept it just in case they didn't disable it, and then completely forgot about it. I'd left it in my bag, so I haven't been using it myself. And then of course you look at the ranks, and everyone with the high ranks has been using these things. It's doing stupendous, as you can imagine. I mean, I'm bursting between 500 and 700 k DPS single target at the start of a fight. Now, if you can repeat, obviously you're not going to completely repeat it, because that includes using an old war pot and having heroism, but it's still going to be very high the other times you use it. So those ranks are probably stable now, because they have apparently nerfed it to the point where it's not useful anymore. But I haven't tried them. I probably won't now. If they've nerfed, I don't know why they don't just disable the 2 set. I don't see why they have to nerf it. It annoyed me that they brought in technology, or they brought in a system just before Legion went live to disable tier sets from previous expansions. Why not this one? I mean, I would disable it as soon as you reach a level 101, but at least disable it when you reach 110. You don't have to nerf it then. It just doesn't work. But it still works fine if you're level 100. I don't see a problem with that. Oh, that's good. So you got rank 9 without using it. Well, there you go then. Maybe you don't absolutely have to use it under good conditions. The logs will always be misleading. The logs are always misleading, I think, full stop. I don't think... There's maybe sometimes a window of like a few weeks where it's not. Because at the moment, you've got some people who are doing just pure main runs. And some of those people, because it's like normal heroic, some people will be doing it with like 15 people. Some we do it with 30. Sometimes 30 is not good. Nathenja, for example, it's not really good to have like 15, well, it's not quite 15 melee, but it's about a dozen melee all around. The same size boss in the same size room. And there's potentially other ones as well. And there are some fights where maybe having fewer people is not necessarily helpful. So the ranks for normals and heroics are always messed up. And then when you get the ranks into the mythics, you've got the ones who will clear it most quickly, will get most quickly into doing crazy things and doing silly things with numbers as well. So it's all a bit weird. We are certainly being buffed. There's nothing really... I mean, obviously, that 2 set should never have been a thing anyway, so you take that out of the equation. These are all just buffs that we've got. That's all there is to it. They're just buffs. The thing is, though, you call it a buff. Like, if I always say a buff can still be a nerf if everyone else gets buffed more than you. Now, a lot of people are being buffed, so we don't know where we are on the grand scheme of things. Not everyone, though. My poor old Havoc Demon Hunter has been kicked in the nuts. Beasted. I mean, I know the burst AoE definitely needed dealing with, and Blizzard sort of talked about that. They did need to do that. But they've hit everything. Gordon Bennett. I think it's a bit much. But anyway, never mind. I quite like Ursux. People are sort of poo-pooing it because, you know, the reason it was looking so good on Sims is just because maybe the effects of other trinkets were not really being accounted for. But just the idea of it sounds good to me. It gives you a right load of strength, and it has a nice, just straightforward, does some damage. I don't like the look of the other ones. They seem too novelty to me. Ravage Seed Pod. Is that the one with base haste? Oh, hang on. No, I know which one this is. No, I know. It's the one that has that weird proc, isn't it? It might be all right. I'm not actually sure whether I would even coin it. It's not the sort of thing that I would, if it was put up for saying, do you want this, that I would say, I would want it strongly. That is the other thing you mentioned there. Someone said about Discord. It's pretty sure there's a trinket hotfix. Trinket. I'm very wary now of trinkets. When I did my very first guide, it was round about just before 6.2 was coming out, and I did one on trinkets. And then as soon as I put it out, and I left it to the last minute deliberately, and still they changed it at the last minute. So trinkets, because they're so powerful these days, there was a time when all a trinket did was summon a few peasants or a cannon or something. It was a toy, really. But now they make you extremely powerful. So trinkets will be changed as much as classes, I would think. So it's very, very difficult to know what the best trinkets are going to be. I would just go with what the standard... I have my Dark Moon Fair trinket, which is decent, and I have that upgraded. And you will be able to upgrade it again quite soon. The other trinket I have is a Horn of Val. It's only an 841. But obviously, the faulty countermeasure is like the best one from Dungeons by and large. So getting a high item level version of that would be preferable. So if you end up doing high Mythic Plus versions of Vault of the Wardens, that would not necessarily be a bad thing. I will be making a video on raids once things settle down a little bit, I think. I think we should wait for the dust to settle, because these changes are anticipated. Blizzard had already said that they want a lot of live data before they start doing class balancing. They have now got a certain amount of data, so they'll change it. In another week, they will have even more data, and they will have data of the changes. So they will change things again. So I think it's probably better we wait till things settle down. Even then, you've got to remember, it's probably not for a long time been the case that you should just always use a set of talents for a particular boss. But much less so in Legion, because you could look at the person with rank 1 on a particular fight and look at the talents they use. And you look at the person with rank 2, they might have very different talents. So you have to be a little bit careful with that. What's better is that I try and explain under what conditions each one is best. And you go with that. Oh, the one with the leech. Yeah. I don't like any of them. The only one I like in concept is the Ursux one. I don't necessarily know which one after a couple of weeks is going to be the best DPS for us, because that will just depend on their changes. But I just don't like the design of any of them apart from Ursux. I quite like Ursux. That's fine. It just gives you your primary stat, and it every now and then does a spike of damage on whatever your target is. Suits me. 2-minute cooldown trinkets are preferable. Prefer those because they line up with your crusade. Well, yeah, breaths. I mean, we sort of have to be facing there anyway for our Wake of Ashes. I mean, there's the buff food that gives you does a breath as well. Faulty countermeasure is a really good one if you can get it at high item level. Spiked counterweight, not so good. It's faulty countermeasure we really want. I did actually get a spiked counterweight. Unfortunately, it was only about 825, but it was actually when I'd only just dinged 110, so it was quite. I used it for a bit. It's quite decent. You got legendary braces. I got a legendary on my demon hunter. In my guild, we apparently only get legendaries on our alts, or socials get them. We have someone who's got 3. That is a main, actually. So, yeah. But no, I don't have any on my paladin yet. I don't want to say at this point I'd take anything, because that's not true. As soon as I say that, I'll get the boots. I can do without crap like that. That being said, I have more haste than I'd like. More mastery than I'd like. Maybe it wouldn't be too bad, but anyway. Blessing of Might is annoying. I knew it would be annoying, and it is annoying, because I don't know who's going to do the most damage. Sometimes you sort of think, like on Mythendra, right, I looked at who did the most damage on normal and put it on those 3. And then all sorts of things went wrong. And after a while, I kept faith with them. And because we wiped a few times. And then it all sort of changed. And when we killed it on Heroic, it was different 3 people. Hugely annoying. So actually knowing... I mean, at the end of the day, you can sort of argue, as long as you're putting it on people who do more damage than you, you'll probably win. And I did. On the actual kill, it accounted for about 11% of my damage, which is okay. Anything over 10% is fine. You just think is okay. Ask Mr. Robot Spike Cat away. I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's blessing of my. It's an annoying thing to use, because you need to, who's going to do the most damage? I don't know. What if someone dies? That happens quite a lot on pro. Because I'm only thinking in terms of progress. I don't give a crap about farm. I don't give a monkeys. So on progress, I don't know who's going to die. Probably me. I don't know. The braces are actually really... No, the braces, I would love to have the braces. I would not... Be, I mean, you would sort of want the cloak first. The ring, the good ring, that is. 2 rings. The good ring could be annoying with Crusade, because everything's going so quickly that spending your holy power is quite tricky. But... after those 2, the braces for me would be the one I would prize. Another cheat death, fantastic. Wow. As well as Shield of Vengeance thrown into your cheat death, it's brilliant. So I would absolutely love the braces. I would not be at all disappointed if I got those. We haven't had issues with healers doing that so far. Obviously, healers are going home towards the end of a fight that we're wiping on, but no one has asked for Blessing of Wisdom yet. Not surprising, it doesn't really add a lot. I mean, especially if people like do a calculation where they work out the length of a fight and work out how much mana it's given back, and they say, so it gives you this much mana of a fight. It actually doesn't, because at the start of the fight, when you're on full mana, it's giving you nothing, because it won't, because it's only giving you mana back when it ticks and you don't have full mana. So it's only giving you mana back, really, when you're going through a period of spending your mana quite a lot. Hello. So I can't really see... The only benefit of Blessing of Wisdom is if you put 3 out and it allows you to drop a healer for another DPS. It's not really something you need to worry about on normal and heroic, maybe for mythic, but even those circumstances are probably going to be few and far between. So it's all Blessing of Might. But at the same time, I don't care. I'll put it on. If someone wants whatever, they can have it. Don't give them monkeys. You've got the belt and the boots. Well, they're both crap. I would complain. That's 2 legendaries and both of them poor. I'll say poor. You could use them. I mean, you could occasionally use the belt for healing. But as I say, I envisage a situation where every now and then someone will say, "Why have you put freedom on me?" Just giving you a little heal. It will confuse people. PvP ring. The legendary ring. Which legendary ring? The good one or the bad one? No, it's not legendaries that don't exist. It's holy relics that I thought for a long time didn't exist. Then I suddenly got 2 good ones on one day. I got another one in Mythic Plus yesterday. That was all right. Not an amazing one, but 845. It was better than I had. And on a Templar's Verdict talent. Might of the whatever. If Crusade makes you feel crowded with generator cooldowns, why not use talents that have longer cooldowns? Because I'm not always in Crusade. It's simply that. I don't always have Crusade going. And even when I do, it's like after a few seconds anyway. So every 2 minutes for a few seconds, it gets very, very rapid. But at other times, no, I quite like that. At the same time, it's only in raids where I've been using Blade of Wrath. I've not been used to it as well. Probably I'll get better used to it. I've been using Divine Hammer because that's what I've been using in dungeons. And when I'm soloing stuff, I don't lose out by using Divine Hammer either, really, not significantly. So I don't bother. Because I don't want to change talents at the start of a dungeon because, well, there's 2 reasons why. The first is if I do that, then everyone's pulled. What I need to do is the Blessings of Might. I need to get greater Blessings of Might on everyone before they go pulling, and they do that quite quickly. And the other problem is at the end of the dungeon, it doesn't let you change them back. So you're going to go out of the dungeon back to your soloing. Well, you're going to be stuck in your dungeon talents anyway, so sod it. And rest areas are not always what it used to be. A rest area, for me, used to be, well, if you saw an innkeeper, that was a rest area. No. Where is it? Skyhorn at the very least in High Mountain. There's an innkeeper there in a hut, well, a tent. It's not a rest area, so that doesn't work. Yes, I get Arcane and I get Fire a lot. Now, of course, Fire's useful to us, but it's always lower item level ones. I get a lot of Iron as well, a lot of Iron relics. I haven't had, no, there's been one world quest where it's been holy for me. Leadrin's Fury. Oh, that's the good ring. Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Not well. I say it's all right. I don't know how effective it is, like, really, when you were basically using Crusade. I'm not sure if it's as effective, but it's still decent. Is Virtue's Blade ever a viable choice? I think probably. But I think probably at higher crit levels. My crit is about 16%, so no. I did work out a percentage a while ago, but things have changed now, so I haven't redone it. What happened was I made a nice spreadsheet with lots of stuff. So all I had to do was import the damage values of all my abilities, and it would work, and I could compare various things. And in fact, I actually put a percentage buff on them all. So when this information came out, I'm pointing at the screen, you can't see it. Why am I doing that? But when all this information came out, I would just be able to, in this spreadsheet, put all the percentages in, and before it went live, and it would update it as well. brilliant. Took me ages. I've lost it. I lost my memory stick with all my summer's work on it, which is all my work for actual work as well as the stuff I've been doing for Legion. Didn't back it up. Didn't need to back it up over summer because it wasn't going anywhere. It was staying in the same computer. But then when I took it out to go to work, and I used it for work as well, lost it. So that's annoying. So I don't really know. The legendary helmet. Is there any time to use Hammer of Justice? Well, it's not the damage it does. The helm is I don't like it. But the cooldown on Hammer of Justice, if you get to a situation where there are mobs that can be stunned and you would like them to be crowd controlled a lot, I mean, like dungeons, it could be good. A massively reduced cooldown on Hammer of Justice is not a bad thing in dungeons where there's certain things like those bloody pelters in Neltharion's Lair where you'd quite like to keep them locked down as much as possible. But it's not the damage that the Legendary Helm does that is worth it at all. It is just the reduction. So if you feel that you want to stun a lot, then yeah, it can be decent. Yeah, I can't remember what crit percentage. All I know is when I sim myself, at least, Blade of Wrath comes out significantly ahead of Virtue's Blade, but I don't have very much crit at all. I have too much mastery. I might actually have a look at some of my pieces. I still have a number of pieces between 840 and 850. And I might, before the next raid, just have a look at changing a couple of... I think I've got a couple of haste mastery ones that I could maybe try and find a haste versatility crafted item and upgrade that. Because I don't mind Blade of Wrath on raids. Because for bosses, it's fine. My only issue with Blade of Wrath is if... for soloing, I wouldn't use it. I'd use Virtue's Blade because it's only... If the dot isn't going to tick down, it's no good. No, Hammer of Justice, no, it doesn't... The damage is useless, so if the thing you're targeting can't be stunned, pointless. But if there's ads on the boss that can be stunned, and you want... And not just can be stunned, it's no good can be stunned if you don't need... And sometimes you don't want them stunned because the tank's trying to drag them around anyway, you just piss them off. But if you would like them to be stunned because they're actually doing something hideously annoying, then that's fine. But I can't really think of too many examples in Emerald Nightmare where that absolutely needs to be the case. But in dungeons, that's a different matter. So but I don't think I'm going to end up doing many dungeons. My main times when I was free is Friday evenings and Saturday afternoons. Now, I did a couple of Neltharion's Lair. I've upgraded a Keystone of Mine 2+4, but haven't used it. Now, unless I manage to get some more time before the reset, I'm probably not going to get to use it. So I don't think I'm going to end up doing a lot of Mythic Plus. I'm not a hugely in-demand class or character, whatever you want to call it. And I have limited time to actually do these anyway. And I'm not pugging it. Not pugging it. Well, someone else would have to type then, I'm afraid, if you're deaf, because I can't type directly through the medium of this. But in terms of trinkets, yeah, we'll probably recap a few things as people come into the chat. I don't know which ones are going to be strong because they're going to change them. They're already changing them as far as I can tell. And I don't like any of them in terms of the design apart from Ursox. But Ursox may not be all that strong. So I'm just going to go with, for now, Dark Moon Fair Trinket and Faulty Countermeasure if you can get a high item level one. But I haven't even seen it drop on blue quality. Not seen it at all. Haste, it depends what's comfortable to you. I personally felt more comfortable at around about 25% haste. I am quite happy bouncing between 25 and 30% haste, personally. You've got to bear in mind, when Crusade's going, you actually wish you had a bit less haste. And same with Heroism, and especially when both of them are going. And but at other times, I feel quite happy with between 25 and 30% haste. That is what I would say on that one. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly change to another screen. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, it is connected. Ah, yes, good. Oh, it's working. It didn't work last time. When I switched to another screen, it didn't bring the chat with it. Okay, well, that's working better. Right, now, there were some general... People can still obviously ask questions as they feel the need. But there were some questions people sent in that I did like a Q&A video what's the reason I've only brought out like one video in the last week, or before yesterday at any rate, and even that was cocked up apparently, is because I was having massive problems with my video editor. Huge errors, which I think came from the original video files having something wrong with them, because the editor itself is actually fine, it turns out. But there were a lot of questions I sort of addressed, but I haven't actually addressed them, so I'll go through these now as well. So there's an issue, obviously we've talked about this already, the top one, Crusade, about this is the 7.1 changes. As I say, I'm not a particular fan of either version of Crusade, but I'd just be quite happy if it just buffed the damage and not the haste. And I'd be okay with that. Obviously, they might have to do it by a greater amount to compensate for the lack of haste. I don't know. I'm not quite keen on the variable haste, really. The thing with the Dark Moon trinket, of course, is at some point it's going to fall behind. You are going to be able to keep upgrading it. I think you're supposed to be able to upgrade it again at some point soon. Maybe even when Mythics come out next week. I'm not sure. But... well, yeah, this is the problem, Sim. It doesn't matter what you say. The trinkets are changing. They're in a constant state of changing. And at the moment, in the first couple of weeks at least, they'll probably change quicker than people can update Simcraft anyway. But this is, yeah, sorry, going back to this question, someone is said here, no one builds Ret with Mastery anymore. And this is the problem, of course. If you're going to leave Mastery largely in the dust, then you make a change which means under some conditions, Mastery is really good. And under other ones, it's not. You create a huge problem. Now, all right, we've been used for the last couple of expansions on having these two secondary stats are really good, get them. And it's been either haste and mastery or mastery, multi-strike, whatever. But other specs haven't had that. Other specs have had the situation we have. But this is like turning it right on its head, going from completely worthless to completely worthless until... to really good, because obviously in a sustained AoE situation, you can spam that, you have greater judgment, spamming your Divine Storm as well, you wreck the AoE damage. But, and bear in mind, I didn't do any of the raid testing on Alpha or Beta. In Emerald Nightmare, there is no sustained AoE, really. Maybe at the end on Xavius, where you're cleaving the tentacles that don't really have to die, but you just sort of want to keep on top of them. But that's it. And in Nighthold, I'm not sure. I don't know. But there might be a few ways. There's some AoE to be done. But again, if it's not sustained, you wouldn't take Greater Judgment. If you're not going to take Greater Judgment, then the effect of Mastery is lessened even with this new Crusade. But yeah, Retribution, it's all over the place. And people just want, and I think it's because of the last couple of expansions, people want this set priority list. It doesn't exist. It changes all the time. And while you're rapidly gearing up, which we've all been doing this for the past few weeks, it changes constantly. I mean, I don't update it constantly. I don't care. I go for markers. Obviously, what I try and do is work out where I'm trying to get to and use stat weights for that, rather than just constantly simming myself as I am now. In terms of the Ask Mr. Robot sim stats, I had intended already to do like a video on that. But when I actually had the time to do it a couple of weeks ago, I had an issue with it. It was entirely to do with my computer, not the Ask Mr. Robot thing. And I haven't had time since. So when I have, and I've got a decent amount of time to sit down and do it properly, then I will bring one out. But at the moment, anything I do regarding Sims is just going to mention Simcraft. Really. Hey, yeah, haste versatility. I mean, you can get it on crafted gear if you're lucky, of course. Check the auction house. But in terms of other gear, because crafted gear can only go at the moment up to 850. So for the higher level stuff, yes, haste versatility is not so easy. But haste crits decent, because then you get to a certain point and you might want to use Virtue's Blade anyway. I mean, crit and versatility both. See, versatility, and I sort of secretly quite like versatility, and I know I shouldn't, because it just buffs your damage by a flat, boring amount, and it gives you a bit of damage reduction. And do you know what? Sometimes you do just survive some fire on very low health. Or a slug exploding on Northandria or Nethandria, whatever it's called. I haven't learnt the names of all the bosses in Emerald Nightmare. Some of them have complicated names. I just remember what they look like. So it's first dragon boss, Ice Stalk boss, Dragons of Nightmare. I remember those because we had those in vanilla. And blah, 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 blah. Yeah, my master, I can't remember what it is exactly now. I think it's early 20s. I have very little versatility. So at the moment, my versatility sim is quite high. It's saying get versatility because I don't have much of it. It's like 5% or something. Do you know, I can't even remember is mastery on the artifact? I've completely forgotten. That's annoying, isn't it? They make it our worst stat and put it on the one item we've got to have. Can't even remember what's on it. I'll just look at my overall. Because I can't change that. I don't really pay attention to what's on the artifact in terms of stats because there's nothing I can do about it. I can't choose to use something else. Crit mastery. Okay. They were having a laugh there, weren't they? What other ones were there? In terms of the Ashbringer itself, the Ashbringer is probably going to become like a non-issue now because whether we went the short way and then reset or just went the short way and then carried on or went the long way from the start really doesn't matter because now we're in a position where we should all have Ashes to Ashes and not have to worry about resetting. Even me, who's a couple of traits, I'm a good one and probably 2 traits behind where a lot of people seem to be. I can't actually quite work it out because I'm exactly on schedule with where I expected to be. But I still seem to be slightly behind other people, which is annoying. Apart from the last couple of, well, no, even the last couple of days, I think the main thing is I haven't been doing as many dungeons as I would like. I have a bit less time. And now that I do need to level up my Death Knight to get herbalism, stuff like that. So I'm still a trait and a half away from getting Echo of the High Lord. Um, 19% haste. Oh yeah, 13% versatility. Nice. No, I don't have very much versatility at all. Well, yeah, the crit is very variable if you're using the Dark Moon Fair trinket. It's annoying. I don't like that aspect of it. But on balance, it seems to be okay. So yeah, but there was a comment. The second one down. Still haven't locked Ashes to Ashes. Unlocked Ashes to Ashes. Obviously, this was like really early on. Everyone will have unlocked it by now, unless they've just started playing again. And most classes beaten by 20 or 30k. I mean, this is the thing. Ashes to Ashes adds loads of damage. But now that we all have it, you almost don't need to talk about it. It's all done. Yes, artifact knowledge. I mean, that's another thing. I seem to be like, I'm obviously a day and a bit behind some people because some people were able to race to level cap. You know, so we all, I mean, I did like an hour when it came out. I had about an hour before I had to go to bed. So I did about an hour. And then a lot of people would have been level 110 before I even woke up the next day. But the next day I had to go to work. So I didn't get to level cap until... Came out on Tuesday evening. It's like Thursday, 2 days later, was it? Towards that, anyway. And didn't even get to do much Suramar until Friday. So I was a couple of days behind with the artifact knowledge. For some people, and with other people, I'm like a day behind. And then some other people are around about the same time as I am. But yeah, artifact knowledge is, apart from all the annoying Illidan quests you get as a result of it, quite nice. Yeah, someone did mention here, do any of my students play? I don't know. I don't. In terms of the ones, I mean, I know there are ones in the college that play. Every now and then I have a student and it turns out they do play. I try not to talk about it too much. The problem is, last year, some of my students who don't actually play it, but somehow found my, well, I say somehow found my YouTube channel. They just looked up my name on Google. It's not that hard. Because my channel name for a good long time was just my name. And they found it and they came across the video that I did, the sort of spoof video on why gnomes are bad. And they keep quoting it now. They keep threatening to buy me a gnome as a gift at the end of the course or something. So yes, they found my YouTube channel, and I try to avoid more students finding it, so I try not to talk about it too much. So I don't know. 10k till Echo, ooh, close. My miles, I don't even know how far out. I am on... I need another, I can't remember how many I need. But I need 1 and a bit, say 1 1/3 traits to get there. So I'm still a bit off. I don't even know if I can get there. Because I've got another artifact knowledge thing coming up. Or have I just had one? I think I've got one coming up, maybe tomorrow. I'll have to keep checking on that. 23 traits. Now, that was a thing. I sort of thought to myself, because I think it's 22 you need for Echo of the High Lord, if I remember right. I might not be. Let me think. It is. It's 22 needed. If you've gone the long way, that is, to Ashes, and then you're going across Shield of Vengeance to it, 22. Now, if I was going to get to 23 at around about this time, in other words, round about the raid time, I know I can't get to Divine Tempest before Mythics come out. I might have been tempted to go for the trait that makes your Divine Storm heal a bit for dungeons. I'm not sure if it's significant enough, but it might be quite useful. So I might have thought of just doing that. But because I'm behind, I won't. I will just go for, even though it means spending 3 traits in Flash of Light, but that's not one we can avoid. So, yeah, I'm on 20 and 2/3 or something. So I don't know how much in terms of artifact power. I don't really pay attention to how much actual artifact power it is to the next one, because all I can do is do some dungeons and do the world quests that reward artifact power and all the rest of it. I had quite a good one actually the other day. It was one of the Warden's wanted ones for the bird boss in High Mountain near Skyhorn. And I went AFK. Someone was messaging me on Discord. And I went, I was a Protection Paladin, because of course I'm not going to do a wanted one as Ret. And although with enough gear it'd probably be fine at some point. So I was Protection Paladin, and I went AFK, and I came back, and I saw him. He was taking the bird on. Sorry, it's him. This DPS Death Knight that had come along, and he was nearly dying. So I tried to grab the bird off him quickly. It actually did kill him. So I killed the bird anyway. And then he went, "You dick." And I thought, "What's your problem?" And he says, "You just stood there." And I was AFK. I said, "Why do you think I was just stood there doing nothing?" And he thought, "Oh, I just thought you were waiting." I thought, "Waiting for what? For it to lay an egg?" But anyway. Yeah, I've done very little. I only did a little bit on Alpha, actually. Beta, sorry. Was it Alpha or Beta? I can't remember. I don't expect to be doing loads because, as I say, I'm not in huge demand, and also I have limited time to do it. But yeah. Right, was there another question here? This bottom one. Oh yeah, I should mention this one. I'm actually not sure if my cursor's showing this time. I can't find an option to either show or hide the cursor, so I'm guessing not, because it wasn't showing last time. It says, can we get an update on Ret Paladin Mythic Dungeons, DPS, Mythic Plus, blah, blah, blah. Your old guide is a bit outdated. I obviously did put a little Mythic Dungeons one out, but the old guide isn't outdated. I think people might be sometimes looking at the one I did for pre-Legion, but remember I have a playlist where it goes, everything goes in, and when stuff is out of date, it gets moved out of it. So in the playlist for Retribution Paladin on the YouTube, it does only show the up-to-date ones. And nothing's really changed since I did that one. Even with these buffs that are coming, that's not going to change anything that I put in that guide. 7.1 will change it, but then, you know, I know I will have to do another one for 7.1. And then someone else was asking, and someone's asked this today as well, but just to cover it, with Divine Hammer, being a longer cooldown and therefore slower holy power generation. When I was working out the DPS values for all these things with my spreadsheet before No, Divine Hammers doesn't appear to have been buffed. But yeah, when I was working out the values on my spreadsheet, which is now doesn't exist, I did take into account Holy Power Generation with it. The thing with Divine Hammers, of course, it will still surely be good to take in dungeons. The main thing will be that it's more of a loss on bosses. But yeah, they obviously feel that Divine Hammer is fine. That maybe they feel that we're okay in dungeons, perhaps, because that's obviously the one you use in dungeons, and it's actually raid. So maybe it's a way of buffing our. My mic, sneak it out of the way. That they're showing the increasing. I don't know what I'm talking about. Increasing raid damage without actually beating us in dungeons. The thing is, I don't see pulling seagulls as being a bad thing. If I will pull seagulls with my Divine Hammer, it's very likely someone's going to pull it with the boss anyway, and they wreck. So it's actually better that we clear the seagulls, I think. But I haven't actually pulled a seagull with it. I'm actually pretty good at not pulling. Eye of Ashara is obviously the one with lots of neutral mobs, so it's the diciest one. But I'm sort of pretty good at just sort of standing still until it's worn off, and then going. I'm sort of a little bit aware of it because I've used it all the time. I've almost constantly used it. The only time I don't use it is I've developed a thing because I need to do world quests on my Paladin and my Demon Hunter, and they're both on different accounts. I've taken to doing them at the same time. So what I do is I put them on both at the same time, join a group, and then I just have my Demon Hunter put me on follow. Or they follow my Paladin. So in that situation, obviously, I'm not queuing up for a dungeon. So in that situation, I do take solo talents. But yeah. I haven't used Holy Wrath. My health doesn't go down enough, and I don't take the piss with it. So I've not been using Holy Wrath. As long as it doesn't become the obvious one to use for any particular fights, I'll be quite happy. If people want to use it, that's fine. But I've avoided it. Although it might be better with the wrists, because that, of course, knocks you down to 1 health. And if you can whack it off quick before healers react. At the same time, healers really won't like you using it. Rogue... Oh, well, yeah. I had a weird one with a judgment that seemed to go way beyond its range. But, I mean, the main problem with judgment is when I pull with that, it's usually when you're using it just as a mob's about to die, and it actually does die, and what you actually end up doing is judging something you hadn't pulled. But the worst thing in dungeons isn't from us at all, it's from agility users, that BOE trinket that just randomly pulls things miles away. Because it does the fan thing, I can't remember what it's called now, I've got it on my Demon Hunter. It doesn't happen a lot, but every now and then. And there's nothing you can do. Like, if a mage pulls stuff with Cinderstorm, you can tell them to stop using Cinderstorm. And a lot probably wouldn't use that in a mythic dungeon. But with the trinket, it's a really good trinket. So, yeah. I've always found it bothersome changing talents each fight. When the new talent system came in MOP, I was not at all keen on it. But the thing is, this is the irony. Blizzard at the time said that, it's a really good thing to be able to, not have a set talent thing that you're going to change them all the time. But yeah. But yeah, I do find it bothersome changing talents. I don't change that many, I think. In Emerald Nightmare, what would I actually change? Because the thing is, in the first row, you can only take Final Verdict. Execution Sentence is dead talent. Consecration's nice, except in a raid situation, even if you had a lot of mobs up for a lot of time, which doesn't actually happen on any fight, they need to be still, and they're not going to be still. So, you're only going to take Final Verdict. In terms of your Blade of Justice choices, in dungeons, I'm just going to take Divine Hammers all the time. In a raid, I'm just going to take Blade of Wrath. At a certain point, I might take Virtue's Blade. But what I mean is, I'm not going to switch between fights. If there's a lot of cleaving to be done in one fight, sure, I might take Divine Hammers. But again, for Emerald Nightmare, I can't think of too many situations where I would really take Divine Hammer. The nearest I can come to it is the Spider Boss, but that for most time is still single target. But maybe when you get to the business end of it and the spiders on the other end, you sort of think, oh, that's more important. The eye boss, no, because what's most important there is beasting down, and that's a single target. Where it's most important is single target. So, yes, single target in Emerald Nightmare. So it doesn't change from fight to fight. The only thing that I think can change is changing to eye for an eye for Ursoc. Changing to the one, I can't even remember the name of it now, that gives you 2 charges of Divine Steed for Cenarius, say. And that's probably about it. That actually could be it. Cenarius to get the ads. Because you might have to cover some distance. You might have to do it quite regularly. So Cenarius is quite now. When I get to that on Heroic, I am very lightly. Because also, Divine Intervention is only good if you think you're going to die. Cavalier, that's what it's called. Oh, Cenarius for Divine Hammers? I don't know. I'll have to see what it's like on Heroic. On normal, I wouldn't have thought, no. Zeal, problem with Zeal is the actual cleave doesn't go very far. Very short duration. So I like it for dungeons. I don't think I would use it for dragon, because the ads are always behind me. It won't cleave to those, even when I move on to them. It won't cleave onto the dragon for them, certainly. But even on them themselves, they're not grouped, because they die quite quickly. There's no benefit in a tank trying to group them together. Having reduced cooldown and bubble is nice if you're going to use it. But I think, if I'm not going to use it, if I feel safe, Cenarius is one where I think having lots of movement is good for me. But yeah, Divine Intervention is the standard one. I would just take that. But if I think I'm going to sort of want to move there and back in certain situations, but Cenarius is the only one I can think where that would be the case. So that's the one I would take. Right. And then there was the last one, I think. Was it this one? Oh, and this was just stuff on stats. But we've already talked about stats quite a lot, I think. But in terms of food flash, we take, well, that's easier now. At the time when this was done, I was talking about it last week, we weren't even sure if Old War was going to work properly. It does now. It works rather too well. Obviously, that's been nerfed as well. When I did it on normal, I didn't actually have any of those pots. Hideously expensive. The herbs are expensive, the pots are expensive. So, well, we've got some in the guild who can make the pots, but the herbs are really expensive. So I didn't use them. I think a lot of people didn't use them. That's why I'm not quite sure where I am really with even Defendra, because I used them for the heroic, but not necessarily everyone did. I don't know how many did. I've not sort of checked on the logs. But incredibly powerful. I wouldn't have liked having to use the ranged one. I tell you what was really annoying in terms of flask, because of flask I don't have to worry about because we use a cauldron. They have fixed it now, but on the first night, on Wednesday, with the Demon Hunter, it was giving Demon Hunters intellect. It's particularly annoying because the agility flask is called off the 7th demon as well. So I bought a load of the flasks and for the next night, and then they fixed it. So I was just wasting it. Are there a lot of things we have 2 or more things that not well? Yes. It's the main part of the fight when you've got multiple things up. When you've got the ads up, sorry. And it's quite common to have 2. At the same time, I'm not going to use that as an excuse to take Divine Hammer, because although it happens a lot, it doesn't necessarily happen for long. Which is the reason why I'd quite like to have Cavalier on it. It's not like I'm going away from the boss to kill ads for a while and then come back. It's like going to kill the ads for 10 seconds maybe and then come back. So not long. They're not up long enough to use Divine Hammer, in my opinion. I could be wrong. But I would like to, but they're a long way off sometimes, so I would like to be able to move out and back again. I think that was it for those questions. People have got more. I mean, if I just quickly sneak, I'll look at this one. Obviously, this came up a lot. Oh, it's still keeping. Oh, I love this now. I don't know why it wasn't working before. I quite like our cleave. Obviously, it would be a lot better as soon as Divine Storm is going to be good on 2 targets. But Divine Hammer and Cleave, I have found when I've been doing Mythic Dungeons in guild groups as well, so all the good players and who are also geared up, some of them more than me, as I say, because I was a bit behind. There have been times where I've been grouping with people who've been sort of like the same as me or better on single target, or AoE, I should say, on packs. And then we've come to 2, and I thought to myself, I'm probably not going to be that good on this. And I've actually been better because Divine Storm's really good on 2 targets, and Zeal is decent on 2 targets as well. So even using Templar's Verdicts, I've been doing pretty well on 2 targets, as long as they're close together. I wouldn't ever take full AoE talents. Because that would include, for me, that would suggest Greater Judgment and Consecration, and I wouldn't take either of those for a raid boss that I can think of, at any rate. You're learning the names, well done. Is iBoss. Ilginoth, yeah, iBoss. Do I mean hammers? No, I mean divine. When divine Storm is a 2-target increase, which it's not at the moment. Well, it might be, depending, but it's not for me at the moment. But Divine Hammers is really good on 2 targets. So I know I'm quite happy with 2-target cleave. At the moment, at any rate. And I think it's only going to get better. As soon as we've got Divine Tempers, certainly better. Greater Judgment fair. Well, again, Greater Judgment is just what it is. It's okay at the start of a fight when and you can argue you've got heroism up and you've got your crusade going, you've got your pot going, and of course it's the guaranteed crit and you're spamming the hell out of it. So your burst at the start of a fight is going to be really good, even on a single target thing. But the problem is that Greater Judgment after that is a sustained AoE talent, and you don't really get sustained AoE on raid fights. Just like the Spoils of Pandaria, I think is the last one I can remember. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't end up, but as I say, in your burst phase, because that guaranteed crit. Or if you're switching ads a lot, because if they're on high health, you're sticking a Judgment on them, it could be quite good. But I just, I don't like the concept of Greater Judgment anyway, because the great concept of Greater Judgment. And you say, I tried it. Yes, I just prefer Zeal. I just like Zeal. I mean, it's nice with a big, or when you've got when you have got your packs of at least 4 mobs, and then your Divine Storm does lots of damage, and we'll probably only get better with when Divine Storm is buffed more from Echo of the High Lord and Divine Tempest, which mine is not yet. And also remember, because I've now transitioned, I don't have any of the trait points in the trait that buffs my Divine Storm. So my Divine Storm is a long way off where it's going to be when I finish my Ashbringer. So for me as well, it could well be that Greater Judgment isn't great for my particular Ashbringer as it is, but I didn't find it very good when I used it. I used it yesterday, Greater Judgment, and didn't like it. Didn't find it was as good. Well, yeah, that's the problem. Well, it sort of does. It does at the start of the boss fight, but especially on a dungeon boss fight, you get past that fifth. Hang on a minute. I can't remember what percentage it is critical. It's above what percent now? But the start of the fight it is, because it's a guaranteed crit. And especially with me with a low crit haste, that's potentially it. So it's, yeah. But at the moment, I have nothing buffing my... No, actually, I might still... Do I still? I might still have 1 relic that's buffing my Divine Storm. But I don't have Echo of the High Lord. I don't have the minor traits buffing it. I don't have Divine Tempest. So my Divine Storm is not as strong as it's going to be. But Zeal is quite nice. And I do have the traits that buff Crusader Strike. I can't remember what it is now for Greater Judgment. It might be above 50%. But it's certainly the start of the fight. And that's what I mean about Crusade when it changes in 7.1. It could even be quite good. It'd be really weird taking Greater Judgment on a single target boss fight. But it might be possible. I don't know. It might be interesting to see the sims on that. Because, of course, you'll be spamming Judgment anyway during Crusade. This is true, but again, I'm not changing talents before one boss. I'm not using a tame just before one boss. I might in a raid, It's different in a raid. So when we do Odin in the raid, where we're going to do the same thing, we're only just going to beat him down a little bit again. That may well be the case. Well, they might change Greater Judgment if we use it on a single target. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know that. But the thing is, their change to Crusade is going to make it at least an interesting possibility that it could be single target. The execution says, I would love to hear their explanation for what they're thinking with that. Because mathematically, it's not like some talents you sort of think, we're never going to use this. Like Consecration is a classic example. Consecration is a talent that I cannot see myself ever using in a raid, but that is only because I don't think ads are going to be up for long enough and stay still for it to be useful. But they could come back and say, well, that's not true. Because if ads are going to be a big enough feature of the fight and they're going to be grouped up and stay still for a reasonable amount of time, Consecration will be good. But there are no theoretical situations where execution sentence is good. And so it's indefensible. Write a letter. I don't know where you would write the letter to. I mean, I'm not sure how quickly it would ever get anywhere, even if you actually wrote it to their actual headquarters. I wonder how many people actually do write them letters. Because you can't really email them, can you? If you have feedback, you can put it on a forum. If you can do it really quickly, you can do it in a tweet, and that's about it. But yeah. But yeah, I was... I couldn't believe it when he said, and I think he was being serious as well, that at BlizzCon he's going to be setting up like a mini salon. Is he actually doing that? Oh my God. I think he is. It seemed serious to me. It seemed serious that he's actually going to do a salon at BlizzCon. Yeah, Chris Metzen gone. I did say I do hope they do something special for him at BlizzCon, which is not that far away now, is it? I always forget the date. It'll come up. It'll flash up in my email when it's about to go. I think he was serious. It seemed serious. I'm not going to be at BlizzCon, obviously, in person. It's only a virtual ticket, so I will probably not actually see it, apart from when he tweets photos from it. But Chris Metzen is no longer the senior vice president. He's just Mr. Metzen now. Yeah. I'm sure he'll stay in touch, but he will no longer, apart from... He's a voice actor now. If all he's going to carry on is doing Thrall, that's all there is to it. And I think, as well, I'm not sure the power of a letter is a thing anyway, because even if they personally don't read a forum post, especially on the US forums, it will be read, and main points will surely be brought to their attention. So, anyway... Yeah, no, it's no point in bugging anyone, really. They will read the feedback. My main issue is with the feedback, and I've said this before, is it's like they try and have their cake and eat it. Says it's actually a weird phrase, that, because of course if you're going to have cake, you're going to eat it. But when they decide that whenever the community, if we can call it that, is overwhelmingly saying one thing, they turn around and say, yes, but actually you're a small percentage of our player base. They did that quite recently. They said even all the people that read forums are only like a few percent of the total player base, which is okay, fine, true, I believe that. But at the same time, then they also say that they listen to feedback, and I think to myself, well, what feedback? Because the only feedback you have are the people posting on forums and tweeting. We don't get in-game surveys. The only time we get in-game surveys is when you've ticketed a GM, like I did recently, and they've helped. If they haven't helped, they don't give you a questionnaire to fill in. Now, if every single player was given an in-game survey to say how much they enjoy certain content, rank 1 to 5, whatever, it's not brilliant feedback, but it's better than nothing, and it would be the whole player base. I think, well, you do have to present with facts. Yeah, there's certainly no point in being negative or like bitchy or anything like that. But I think even then, I mean, Sol Sacra, for example, is one of the most reasonable people I have ever come across without ever having met the person. So for them to, like, they were posting obviously on this special forum that top theory crafters get to see during the alpha and beta, and he wasn't very happy at all with their attitude to certain things. So yeah, don't know. The camera distance though, that was a little different, I think, because it wasn't just everyone from a particular class or spec not liking it; it was everyone not liking it. So that was like, it was like flying. It was just such a, why are you doing this? No one likes it. Whereas when it's a class or spec thing, I think it's more difficult because it's, again, small part of player base. Exactly, yeah. The greater blessing system has been powerfully disliked. And in fact, when I go into a dungeon, sometimes I go into a dungeon, there's another Ret Paladin, or I'm on my Demon Hunter and there's a Ret Paladin. I have yet to see one put Blessings of Might on the DPS. This just doesn't happen. I did one time see someone put Blessing of Wisdom on the tank. But yeah, they just, so people aren't even using it, like, unless they, like, maybe the top players are, but most people are not even using. So it's not even a mechanic that people understand. Well, I mean, I still think Sol's really reasonable, and I think, you know, to not be listened to. And I know there's a difference between not being listened to and acting on what you say, but, you know, it just seemed to me he wasn't listened to. I don't even bother explaining. If they don't want to buff me, that's their lookout. It's their damage. You know, if I'm on my Demon Hunter doing 3 times as much damage as they are, they're missing out, not me. And if I'm in if it's a difficult dungeon, like a mythic dungeon, I've not had to puck that anyway, so yeah. Blessings on other people says, I know how to use blessings. Oh. Our tank told and rep hides. Okay. The Retribution passive, as long as it's not counted as part of our damage, it's good. How can it not be good? People die, we get buffed. Cracking. I mean, that's another thing. But you know, my main problem with it, and I don't have a major problem with it, because not so much for the damage buff, actually, it's the damage reduction. Because when people are dying, well, if they die and I'm about to die, well, I might not die because I've got the damage reduction now. And so, yeah, and it's really, especially in 30 mans when we're doing the normal and heroic clears, plenty of scope for people to die on that. How can it not be good? But then it gives a misleading view of your overall damage. That is my major issue with it. If Blizzard, wanted to see live data, such as you're getting from the logs, and they're acting on it, well, they've got to bear in mind a lot of that live data means we're going to be getting the Retribution passive proccing quite a bit. So how valid is it? Ren, what's Ren? Oh, I see. Oh, no. Well, yeah, this is the problem. I mean, my issue has been, like, on progress, it might seem quite good because people die. But then when you're ready to kill the boss, that's when people stop dying. And then it's almost like, well, what happened to DPS? It was really good when we started progressing. Yeah. Because I had a constant 20% passive buff. Yeah, well, this is the issue, isn't it? It's so if you're going to look at live data to decide whether certain classes need buffs or not, or certain specs need buffs or not, it's obviously a huge spanner in the works, and that's you know where that is. Because I mean, you look at I looked at this what I've got on the top right. I did do individual ones for a single target and an AoE boss as well, but it had us pretty low down. In fact, some people will look at this graph or this chart and say, okay, well, sort of lower middle. Well, we're not lower middle. We're actually second from last, because a lot of these specs down here It's for a class where you've got better specs up there, and that's what matters. Someone died on the pull on Xavius. How did that happen? It's the sort of thing I would do. I've had to, once again on my Retribution spec, take my taunt off the off my action bars, because I occasionally use it. I don't want to learn a new bind for it. I have it on Shift Q. Q is my interrupt button. So sometimes if I'm but Shift, I use Shift a lot as well. We don't have any. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a problem, isn't it? I mean, if let's say I can't make it in the guild I'm in now, and I haven't progressed with them before. It's a new guild from a progress point of view, even though I've been in it for over a year. That's how bad it is. I've been in it for over a year, or about a year, I should say. Maybe about a year. And I haven't done any progress with them yet on Mythic. But if I can't make it with them, and I have to look for another guild, it's going to be powerfully, incredibly difficult. And I really am going to have to drop down a lot of ranks to be basically playing in a guild where a lot of people are just not good enough. Because there's two things that work. One is, if you get a situation like this where the actual spec genuinely is doing a lot less damage than other specs, then you are straight up weaker than if you were playing a different spec. And then you have another situation, which is perception-wise. If people just have the perception you're not much use and they don't value your utility. And we have, I think, traditionally had utility, apart from vanilla, which is a different thing, where your utility, even when it was good, was often undervalued. Then you have this perception working against you as well. Oh yeah, as a rep without a guild to spam Mythic Plus and raids, I was sort of willing to pug Mythic Dungeons if I had to. I didn't in the end, just to gear up. I'm not doing it for Mythic Plus. No. If I can't get into a raid group with it, and I can't offer up too many times, because obviously we raid a lot. 5 raid days is a lot. So I can't obviously do it on those days, because as soon as we're finished, it's not as soon as we're finished, but I've got like an hour before I have to go to bed. It's not enough to do many Mythic Dungeons. And people usually, when they get into them, want to like do a load at once. So I can't do that. So I only have a couple of times when I really can donate my time. If I can't do it in a guild group, I'll just have to miss out on it. And I hope my coins are kind. I actually got an item the first time I used a coin on my demon. No, second time I used it on my demon hunter. I used it on the Nithog, the world boss, got nothing. Then I got a ring off the first boss on the heroic. So that was decent. Yeah, I did notice, obviously, doing Emerald Nightmare on my demon hunter compared with my paladin. And even doing Mythic Dungeons, I'm a lot squishier on my demon hunter. My demon hunter technically has a slightly higher item level. I feel a lot squishier though. A lot squishier. Even though Blur is a really nice defensive ability. I mean, it's fantastic. But when you're not using it, the problem is you're sort of encouraged to use it offensively. But yeah, no, I'm only going to save my coins for raids actually. So I'm not going to use it because I wouldn't get it anyway. I know I wouldn't. I haven't even seen it drop on any sort of value for any character. Even when I've been in dungeon groups, I haven't even seen anyone else get it. It's just one of those things that's going to elude me. So yeah, I shall save my coins for Relic initially, bosses in raids, and then probably Ursoc or whatever trinket boss I decide is worth using it on. But I'd probably favour Relic ones, really, and just see what happens with the trinkets. Because at the moment I'm okay with the trinkets I've got. I prefer better, but I'm okay with it. I don't know really. Depends how often people want to do them. I'm at the moment thinking in terms of each month or each 3 or 4 weeks, and it would probably have to be on a Saturday. I did do the last couple on a Sunday, I think, but that's a raid day, so that now that we actually raid again, so it would go in there. My favourite fight, I actually quite like all of them, but my least favourite is the spider boss. It has to be said. What's my favourite? I don't know. I suppose Xavius, even though I'm less keen on the actual environment. But yeah, my favourite would probably be Xavius in terms of how it's been. But then you'd probably expect that because on all I've done, I've only done all of the bosses on normal. I've done most of them on heroic as well. But I've only done all of them on normal. So I'm sort of going off limited mechanics. But I do like all of it. I think it's a good raid. I've only got a couple of issues with it, really, the things I would change. How nasty would it be to get an 890 and not equip it at this point? Ravage Seed Pod over Spike. Spiked counterweight, would that be? Depends on the item level, probably, yeah. Will I be posting my raid footage? Inevitably. I mean, inevitably as like background to any other videos I do. But yeah, I would very likely do some videos based on it once I've done a bit on it. Preferably not the ones where I die. I actually say it's impossible for Retribution to die. I died on our Nathendra heroic kill. But actually, it was quite embarrassing when I look back at the video. I sort of thought, because I've looked back at some videos where the bugs have been doing a lot of damage to me. Like on one of them, because they hide under like the tail or the wings of the boss. It's a bit of a problem with melee. So, you know, if it's right under there and you can't really see it, you sort of think, well, yeah. And they've got a huge... I haven't yet worked out the range on them. It seems bigger than it should be. Because you sort of see one, you don't have to run miles away from it. You should only have to move out of range. I haven't yet picked up what the range is in my own head. But the one that actually killed me, when I looked back on the video replay, I did see the mag and I thought, I should have actually seen that. I should have seen it and I didn't. A lot of the trinkets, I've said this before already on the video, I don't like the design of a lot of the trinkets. They just try and be too clever with them. I preferred trinkets back in the day when they had like some novelty value or something. I can understand why they wouldn't just want to make them stat sticks, because what's the point? There's no point in having them. But I would just have two types of trinket. All of them have either a secondary stat or a primary stat, which they sort of do anyway. And then they either have a proc chance, which I know can be annoying, or an on-use ability that just buffs something. And keep it at that. Just leave out the creative designs of them, because I don't like them. I haven't got any really high level trinkets. I've got a couple of 850s, but they're mostly just stat sticks. So I use my Dark Moon Fair trinket in my 840 Horn of Valor, which is quite nice. It wasn't very nice on some of the normals when it wasn't working. I was trying to work out why, and then I saw in my macro I'd spelt cast with 2 A's, which probably caused a problem. So, although the trinket was going off, my Avenging Wrath was not. Which is problematic. That's a bit of a panic moment at the start of a fight when your Avenging Wrath won't go off and you have to try and go in your spell book to turn it on. But there you go. While we wait for a few more, I am going to stop it before I die. But we might as well have a look at... Well, this wasn't actually the kill, I think. This was... I'm just going to move that up there. Better contrast. This was actually one of the Nathendra pulls where, again, with heroism going, it's just so rapid with Crusade. You can see just the massive amount of melee we had. Because 30 man. And a lot of people play melee. And this is a mix of alts and mains. And it was absolutely... Oh yeah, they changed... I think they did actually spell Judgment with an E years ago. I've got an inkling that it changed at some point. A long time ago now. So, yeah. I'm sort of okay with that now. Because it's one of those words, even though I sort of spell it properly when I'm just writing normally.
Don't be near the entrance.
I almost never... This is when I need to put my headphones on so I can hear things.
Watch it.
I almost never
Should we not just stay this side?
use the word judgment or spell it
Just
or
go
write
to
it
red and be
outside of a WoW
leave the
context.
entire entrance open.
Was it Mop? Yeah,
What?
I had an inkling it did change, that it was spelled
What's-
properly before. So after that, it wound down a little bit. So that was it in terms of the useful commentary. So I hope you found it useful. If you want to get involved in the next one, you missed this one, or you did watch this one, you still want to know when the next one is, then there's two main things I'm going to announce it on. Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you want to be kept up to date when that is. And also the weekly WoW Flash series that I do on the Friday before I do it, I'll announce it at the beginning of the video. If I decide on a definite date more than a week ahead, it'll probably be towards the end of the video though. The other thing is, this is almost certainly going to be on a Saturday. It's quite likely to be in 3 weeks' time, but I don't want to give a definite date just yet. Again, almost certain to be a 7 PM UK time. It seems to fit a lot of time zones reasonably well, not all of them, unfortunately. And if you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time, I'll see you later.